Imagine if the secret to real strength wasn't pushing harder, outsmarting everyone, or proving yourself every damn day, but actually the opposite. You've burned out chasing clever hacks, endless productivity loops, and that alpha grind that's left you exhausted and empty. What if dropping the need to always know, always control, always perform unlocked a deeper calm, effortless results, and a quiet power that doesn't require constant effort? Ancient wisdom shows exactly how the most effective leaders and the strongest people did it by keeping things profoundly simple. Stick around. I'm breaking down how you can apply this right now to escape the trap and start winning without forcing it. Welcome back to the Boundless Sovereign YouTube channel, where perennial truths equal modern. My name is Tad, and we are reading from the Tao Te Ching. This is the John Minford translation. We are in chapter 65, The Grand Flow. Of old, Taoists did not impart illumination. They kept the folk foolish. Too much wisdom makes them hard to rule. To rule through wisdom is to rob the nation. To rule through absence of wisdom is to bless the nation. To understand this true pattern is to have mystic power. Mystic power is deep. It is distant. It returns with things to their source. It attains the grand flow. And with our daily tradition, I'll also be reading from the River Master's commentary. The ancient chose not to illuminate by the Tao and inner power, but instead taught the folk how to remain simple, how not to become hypocrites. Through a surfeit of so-called knowledge and wisdom, the folk became hard to rule. They became cunning and hypocritical. To rule them by so-called wisdom is therefore to rob them, is to remove them from the Tao and the inner power. To rule a nation without false wisdom makes for happiness. Rulers and subjects are closer to one another. King and minister work happily together. True wisdom and pure ignorance are pattern for the practice of self-cultivation and for the rule of the nation. To know this, to abide by it, this is mystic power, a turning, a return. Mystic power is generous, wishing to bring others to completion. This is the grand flow. Oh, how counterintuitive this must seem to us in the West. Our minds so chock full of all of the things that we don't really need, of all of this knowledge and wisdom we think we have, but in the end, ignorance is truly bliss. And boy, does this chapter kind of make that a profound potential in existence. So what are we really trying to say here? And Lao Tzu has demonstrated this in other chapters. I don't recall which ones off the top of my head, but I do know in the book they talk about this receding in terms of knowledge, and what that really is and then returning to this infant state, or this no knowledge state of being, which is this blank slate. And I think what this chapter is trying to say is that by not educating the folk or the nation, what you're doing them is what you're allowing them to do is to live in this world without the burden of all of this false knowledge. And they can experience the simple joys of everyday living without this sense of egoic self pervading their experience. And a lot of what this book is trying to teach is to teach how to get back to the state of being, of non-being, so that way you can have you can experience more purely without the constant narration of the mind with words and all of these things. And so when you are in the present moment and can have this direct experience with life, you're at peace, you feel more joy, you don't have all of this turmoil sloshing around in your brain. And so in this chapter, the Taoists taking care of the folk is to leave them in some ways ignorant to this wisdom, which isn't really true wisdom. The real wisdom is the direct experience of life and of experience, right? Without commenting, narrating, labeling everything. And I've talked about this before, and if you ever look at a sunset and you look out at it and you think, oh wow, that's a beautiful sunset, and you have those words, that thought cross your mind, that language, and once you have the language in the mind, it separates you from the experience. And if you're unaware of that, then you have this disconnection, and it doesn't give you the peace and joy that it should give you. You should be awe-inspired by all natural phenomena, even the day-to-day living and experiencing of food and drink and sight and touch, and all of that should feel like a novel, epic experience. And it's the labeling in the language, the wisdom, the false wisdom that stands between your awareness and your direct experience and separates you from the present moment. And the more separate you are from the present moment, the more suffering you will experience, the more disconnected you will feel, the harder life feels to you. And it's not, I don't think, the way the Creator intended us to be. I think we were meant to live simply, fully, completely. In language, in systems, society has continually put barriers between the human and the human experience. And so what the book is trying to do, and what I'm trying to do with this channel, is to help articulate or to point to the fact that experience, unbridled experience, is truth. And that words and perspectives and opinions and systems and societies are illusions. And that to be identified with all of those things equals separation, equals suffering. And even as, Lao Tzu is using words to try to point to these things, words are wholly inadequate when it comes to trying to describe direct experience. I think I mentioned Chase Hughes's book, A Psychological Tongue, A Psychological Hazard, I think is what the book is called. It uses actually language on itself to cause the mind to disassociate from language and to enter this experience of direct experience without labeling. Self-cultivation, part of the goal of self-cultivation is to enter into the present moment and to start to have direct experience without the narration. Because if you can get to this point and act your life from this point, there is a grand flow to your life. I hope this chapter resonated with you. This is the Boundless Sovereign YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe so we can get these videos out to more folks and hopefully help them to find their way. We'll see you all in the next chapter of the Tao Te Ching, chapter 66. We're getting close. We're about 16 chapters here from the end of the book. So stay tuned. Stick around.